Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post William Hill World Darts Championship Postcast. I'm Henry H. Hardwick and I'm joined by Steve, the Master of Darts Davies. On the phone we've got Steve, the Penetrator Palmer, and from Paddy Power it's Dangerous, Damien Fitzgerald. Now before we get started, kicking off to right into the plethora of Paddy action, we're just going to throw to the guys and just let's see your highlight of the darting year. So we'll start with you, Master of Darts.
What, playing? Performance-wise, it had to be Gary Anderson's win over Mensur Suljovic in the match play final. That was game of the year without a shadow of a doubt. Went either way. Great show from Suljovic, 104 average and lost. Announced him, I think, as a world-class player. Anderson nicked it. Just game of the year without a shadow of a doubt.
And Penetrator, what was the highlight of your? I mean, I guess that considering you've been banging Van Gerwen a lot, there might not have been that many. Would it be the Grand Prix?
Well, it was the German Darts Masters, actually. I had £110 each way on Mensur Suljovic at 18-1 for that one. They only bet on the tournament. So, yeah, that was the most satisfying tournament of the year for me. I had a few winning chunks on Michael Van Gerwen, but I've also had a lot of losing chunks on Michael Van Gerwen. So I think they've evened themselves out. So, yeah, Suljovic for me and the German Darts Masters.
And Damien, how about you, mate?
I suppose personally my highlight was Gerwen Price winning the Grand Prix. I had him at 66s from early in the tournament, so I was very happy. I was just hoping, I thought he'd an easy side to draw, hoping for an each way payout, but he got it done in the final, a bit controversially, I know, but the money doesn't say that.
Yeah, definitely. And right, so let's get going, lads. It's time to play darts. Let's play darts. Let's just kick off with the top seed. Obviously, Michael Van Gerwen, the world number one. But he hasn't had a great year by his standards, Steve.
No, he hasn't. I mean, he's still won, 19 titles? But crucially, come the autumn, this is where you normally see him at his best, at his most dominant. And of the last 4 tournaments, big tournaments, he's not won any of them. So, the European Championship, the World Series, the Grand Slam and the Players' Championship finals. And in all of them, he's looked vulnerable. He's been beaten by, Steve West in one, Daryl Gurney another, Anderson, fair enough. Barney beat him. That shouldn't be happening these days. He looks like he knows ways of getting beaten, whereas 2 or 3 years ago that was never the case. He is a bully, we know that, and when he gets in front, he will still dominate matches. But there have been too many signs this year of a player who under pressure will not fold, but won't get the job done. And to my mind, that makes him vulnerable.
Damien, do you just want to give us a quick show of prices, just sort of the top 10 maybe in the betting for the outright?
Yeah. MVG is favoured 13-8, Gary at 7-2, Peter Wright 9-1, Michael Smith 14s, Mensur at 16s, Rob Cross at 20s, James Wade, Gerwen Price and Daryl Gurney all at 33s, and then Dimitri and Simon Whitlock at 50s, Joe Cullen, Adrian Lewis, Dave Chisnell and Barney all at 66s and 80s bar.
And obviously last year, Michael Van Gerwen was a 4-6 chance to win at Paddy, and this year is a 13-8. Have you seen sort of the prices, Michael Van Gerwen and Gary Anderson come closer together over the last 3 months?
Yeah, we have obviously. On form, if you're looking at the form over the last few months, I think you can't really put too much between them. Like even a couple of weeks ago when they played in that Players' Championship semi-final, like Michael Van Gerwen was only going off around 4-6 against Gary, which would be a way bigger price than at any other stage in the last 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, they've obviously come a lot closer together, and MVG's form doesn't look to be where we're used to it being the last while. His doubles hitting under pressure just doesn't look to be there to me.
And obviously we've got the Penetrator, Van Gerwen's number one fan. What's your opinion of his game at the moment, Steve?
Yeah, I lost a bit of faith in Mighty Mike in the last couple of months. He seems a bit rushed at times now. He's lacked his usual composure in pressure situations. As Dangerous Damien says, he's missed a lot of key doubles. So, yeah, I'm not backing him this year. I don't think his odds are generous at all. I mean, I went in very heavy on him last year. He missed 6 match darts in the semi-final against Rob Cross. And the crowd were absolutely heinous to him, booing him throughout the closing stages, and he could easily get the same treatment this time. The boozed up crowds are going to be there again. The start times are going to be late, so they're all going to be absolutely bladdered by the time Van Gerwen comes on. And it could easily have exactly the same scenario could unfold. And the draw's not been kind to him either. He's got a real third-round banana skin against either Max Hopp or Danny Noppert. Both young, improving, fluent players who could easily cause problems in round 3. So, Van Gerwen not in peak form for me. Concerns about the conduct of the crowd, and the draw's not great.
And our second seed is Rob Cross. Obviously won it last year, Master of Darts. He had a great season last season. He started the tournament 16-1 and won it. This year he's 20s and he had an awful season. I mean, what do you make of that price?
No, I wouldn't touch him. I mean, he's got a red line from me straight away. He's had a season where you can't say he's been an unhappy world champion. Who wouldn't want to be world champion? But he's not dealt with it well. And every time he goes on stage, he looks like he's a player who's waiting to be beaten. In the Grand Prix, he won one leg against Steve Beaton. I know that's an odd format, but if you're missing doubles in an event where you're going to get exposed for that, then come crunch games, he's there to be opposed at the moment. I've got no time for him whatsoever as a possible contender.
And the third seed's Peter Wright. Obviously been changing his darts. He seems to, even different matches in the same tournament, he's changing his darts. But he does have a decent record in the World Championship. He's made at least the quarter-final for the last run-ins. How do you see his chances, Damien?
I think, like as you said, he's had poor form and he's been inconsistent. Which, if you look back to last year, he was consistent. Even when he wasn't winning, he was playing very well. The one thing I will give on Peter Wright is his draw. He couldn't have actually picked an easier draw. His quarter is very weak, and I think in the 3 weeks that we have since the Players' Championship, he could have played himself into form. So I definitely think if you see him in these first couple of games and he's starting to look a bit more impressive, he's starting to hit his doubles for a start, which I think is always a tell with Peter Wright. I could see backing him then, but not for me now until you see something. But if he gets on a roll, he has a very easy draw and he could go deep. And
on the fourth seeds, obviously Gary Anderson, Steve Palmer. Obviously had a great season, won the UK Open, won the match play, lost out to Price in the final of the Grand Slam. But he's 13-2 shot last year, he's 7-2 this year. Is there any value in that price?
Well, Anderson certainly seems to be getting more comfortable playing MVG, doesn't he? He dished out a real hiding to MVG in the semi-finals of the Grand Slam in the middle of last month. They're in the same half of the draw for this tournament. They're due to meet in the semi-finals if it all works out. And Anderson would fancy his chances in that match. I think he's got the edge over MVG at the moment. But then Anderson seems to be becoming less comfortable taking on the lesser players. I mean, he got very upset with Daryl Gurney at the Grand Prix, accused Gurney of lots of chat behind him. He got thrashed in the quarterfinals there. And then obviously Gerwin Price in that Grand Slam final rattled him very, very badly. Mensur Suljovic is another player that Anderson seems to hate playing. So I think against the lesser players, I'd worry about them getting under Anderson's skin. But you talk about Peter Wright's draw. Gary Anderson's draw is fantastic. He basically hasn't got to play a match until the quarterfinals. He will cruise to the quarterfinals, and then from there it gets much harder for him.
And Steve, would you be looking at sort of the top 4 seeds, or would you be looking beyond them? The likes of James Wade, sort of bounced back to form this season, and you've obviously got Michael Smith, who's had good runs, or you've got the new kids on the block, Gurney and Price. I mean, where would you be looking?
Well, there's a lot of players. I mean, the point is that Steve alluded to it there. This draw sets up a Van Gerwen-Anderson semi-final by seedings, and they are the 2 best players in the world by some distance on their day. We know that, we accept that. So you're immediately looking at the bottom half of the draw and thinking this is a world championship for each way punters. Surely, there's some big prices to come out. If you're like me, you're drawing a line through Rob Cross and Peter Wright. Of course, he can go well. He's been to the final before. But there's an awful lot of names down there, players who can go well. I mean, I'm looking at the likes of, Damien mentioned Gerwin Price, an obvious one. Mensur Suljovic, Johnny Clayton. There's a lot of names down there. The likes of James Wade, who has come back to form, as you say, with the 2 wins in the autumn, and does look a good player. He, unfortunately, is in that rotten quarter, featuring Van Gerwen, Lewis and Barney, Whitlock. So I'm not sure about Wade. The guy's a proven winner and he's won twice this year, as I say. But yeah, I think there's a lot of value down the card, and that bottom half is wide open. So
if I had to nail you to a couple of selections in that bottom half, who would you be sort of each way picks?
Well, certainly to win quarter betting, I'd have Johnny Clayton, and I like Gerwin Price. I mean, like Damien, well, not like Damien, because I was gutted because I saw the 66 and left it at the Grand Slam. And yeah, the circumstances of his victory were controversial, but That doesn't matter, does it? He's won the tournament. He knows how to win it, and he knows how to get under people's skin. And Steve mentioned Gary Anderson, you know, spitting out his dummy whenever he comes up against a player like Gerwyn Price. He didn't mention Kim Huybrechts as another one who Anderson doesn't like. But Price will get in people's faces. The crowd will be on his back. He couldn't care less. He loves it. He's a former rugby player. He loves a bit of needle. And he's ready for it. And by proving he's had a good year anyway, getting into the Premier League. I know he didn't do well, and he was furious with the way he played. Done his Achilles. But he's since come back, and he looks a really good player again. He is a good player. I think he's quite a good price. In a wide open half, I'd look at someone like Price, and I'm not trying to get pro-Welsh here, but I like Clayton as well. I think he's a good player. Reached the Players' Championship finals last year. Looks far more comfortable on TV than the likes of Ian White or people like that. So, yeah, there's a couple of names.
Okay, and Damien, I noticed that sort of Paddy Power are top price both Van Gerwen and Anderson, so I'm guessing you'll be looking elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I'd be looking to the bottom half as well. I think Van Gerwen and Anderson, the kind of doubts we've mentioned, I think they're both worth taking on. Clayton is actually someone I had down as well. I think he's a really good, consistent player. He's someone that will hit his doubles to win. He's probably not going to reach a very, very high standard, but I don't think there's anyone on that bottom half of the draw he can't beat. So I think a good each-way price. I like Mensah as well. I think if you look at this year as a whole, I think there's not really much argument. I think Mensah Suljovic has been the third best player in the world. He's got to the final of the match play, was very unlucky to lose to Gary Anderson in a classic. Got to the semis about the Grand Slam and the Grand Prix. He's just a really consistent, good player now. He doesn't have a great World Championship record, probably be a small doubt. But I think he's a different player now, and I think he is on this year's form the third best player in the world, and I think he's a very fair each way price in that bottom half.
And Steve, are you singing from the same team sheet, looking to take on the front two?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to take on both of them. I mean, MVG is too short in the betting. If you look at his route, he may have to beat Max Hopp, Raymond van Barneveld, Simon Whitlock and Gary Anderson just to make the final. So yeah, he's got his work cut out there. And I think that the best bet is in the other half of the draw, and it's Michael Smith. Really encouraged by Michael Smith. He's a 28-year-old now. He's blessed with an enormous natural talent. He's always been able to smash the 180s in with his eyes closed, but he's starting to hit his doubles on a more regular basis now. He got to the final of the Premier League this year, which is obviously a fantastic achievement. He only lost 6 times in 18 matches in the Premier League. You know, playing against the best of the best in front of massive crowds. So, a real big confidence boost that was, and then it showed almost immediately in the Shanghai Masters in July. He won that tournament. He beat Van Gerwen 8-4 in the semi-finals. Then he beat Rob Cross in the final 8-2. So he started winning decent tournaments, and his recent form is good as well. I don't know if you watched Michael Smith against MVG in the Grand Slam. He lost 10-8 to MVG in the Grand Slam, but the quality of darts was incredible. I actually think Michael Smith, given the ages of your Andersons and your Wrights, I think Michael Smith has got the potential to become the world number 2 behind Van Gerwen. So I think Michael Smith got a great chance of getting to the final. And he would be my best bet in the tournament. He had a good run in the Worlds in 2016 World Championship, got to the quarterfinals, went 3-0 up on Raymond van Barneveld and then missed a dart for the match. Barney came back, but 3 years later, I think he's a much better player, and I see him going deep from a fantastic draw.
So that's 1 vote for Michael Smith, 2 for Johnny Clayton and 1 for Mensah Suljovic. If anyone is interested in my fancies, I'd chuck a couple of big price darts at James Wilson and Steve West, both each way. I think they've both got decent draws, and from probably the weaker half of the draw could certainly have a squeak of landing each way money. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back for the best bets in the first and second round.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and a grand up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Racing Post William Hill World Darts Championship Postcast. I'm Henry Hardwick, joining me Steve Davis, Steve Palmer and Damien Fitzgerald, and now we're going to get stuck into the first and second round matches. Obviously there's a change in format this year, there's no prelim round. It's first round, best of 5 sets, so there's a decent length of match to get stuck into. And is there anything that catches your eye, Master of Darts, in the first round?
Well, yeah, first thing that's worth mentioning, of course, we've got 2 ladies in the field, in Lisa Ashton and Anastasia Dobrymyslova. I know it's slightly contrived the way they were shoehorned in through their own women's qualifying, but I couldn't care less. It's long overdue, and there's no physiological reason why women shouldn't play darts alongside men. And these 2 girls are good, very, very good. Lisa Ashton in particular, 4-time defending ladies champion at the Lakeside. she's class. She's absolute class. I know this is the biggest stage she's ever been on. She's playing Jan Dekker in the first round. But her throw is just so brisk and quick and slick, and it doesn't change, whatever the situation, whoever she's playing. And she will give Jan Dekker a game. I thought she might be a bigger price than she is. I think she's 13-5. Dekker could fold easily. He's a flaky Dutchman. The English would be on his back anyway. And Steve alluded earlier to the amount of alcohol that's consumed at Ali Pali. Dekker will get a hard time, and he could easily fold. He's got the game. He's got that kind of loopy throw that if the darts falls short, he'll struggle. And if she, and more importantly, the crowd get under his skin, because she won't change. She'll be hitting the high 80, low 90 average. She's a good player. I don't like Dobrimislova against Ryan Joyce in quite the same way, but I can give Lisa Ashton a chance, certainly.
And Damien, obviously in the first round, there's some players that have had sort of really good year on the Pro Tour, the likes of Jeffrey Deswan, Ricky Evans, Christopher Tasky. Is there anyone that catches your eye that to cause maybe, well, if they obviously get through the first round, to cause an upset to one of the seeds?
I think Ricky Evans could go well. He's gonna get a pretty decent draw. Could win a couple of rounds, like even outright 400-1. I think there's worse 400-1 shots. He's a streaky player. He throws really quickly, and if he gets going, I think he's got a decent chance. One outsider I like in the first round is from the Philippines, Noel Malikdem against Jeffrey de Graaf at 11-4. I'm just looking through his form. He's thrown a 9-darter this year. He's won a lot of Asian Tour events, so I think he might be a little bit better than he's being rated. And I don't think Jeffrey de Graaf is unbeatable, far from it. So I think he has a decent chance. And just one last thing I'd say about the first round is I think there's probably a bit of value in a lot of these games in backing the favourite, backing the more established player to win 3-0, because a lot of these qualifiers, they won't have any experience of playing on stage in front of a big crowd, and it's going to be hard for them. And I could see a lot of 3-0s. So I think if you back 3-0s in the first round, I don't think you'll lose money if you go through.
And Steve, is there anything that you're eyeing up here to get involved in?
Yeah, I'm with Dangerous Damien there. I see the first round being a sea of favourites winning. I had a good look through it, and nothing stood out as far as any odds against shots. I think the best bet of the favourites is Luke Humphreys to beat Adam Hunt on the opening Sunday. I like the look of Humphreys. I went to a exhibition in Weymouth the other day, and he played Phil Taylor, and he absolutely destroyed Phil Taylor. He looks, technically he looks an excellent player, this Luke Humphreys, and I think he should be long odds on to win that first round match. I saw Paddy Power 8-13 Humphreys, so that would be my pick of the first round prices. As far as the second round goes, I think Rob Cross could be in big trouble. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Rob Cross. I think he's regressed to the mean this year, to steal one of Kevin Pillaine's favourite lines. I think he's a good player, but not a great one. And I think Jeffrey Deswan, I'm a big Jeffrey Deswan fan, and I think he's going to play Rob Cross in the second round and potentially beat him. I think if Cross gets through that, then he might end up losing him in round 4, actually, because he'll have a difficult game in round 4 against potentially Dimitri Vandenberg. But yeah, as far as the second round goes, I think this one to beat Cross is a good option.
And Steve Davis, if you're looking at the first and second round draw, which is all there for everyone to see, is there anyone that you can look at and say, they've got quite a nice route through there, they can get through there, they might have a tough third round draw, a tough quarter final draw, but is there anyone that sort of you'd be looking at in that respect? What,
in terms of how the draw progresses beyond the second round? Yeah, well, I mean, I've already explained. The top quarter is just loaded with minefields as far as I can see. And also, I look at Gary Anderson and see Daryl Gurney and Kim Huybrechts in his quarter, players he doesn't like playing against, and given the mood he's in at the moment and the fact that he only likes playing players who play at his speed, otherwise he goes into a paddy, then I'm not interested in that. There's a lot of players who've got good draws that are opening up for them. Johnny Clayton, as I say, he's got possibly the toughest second round tie with Dimitri Vandenberg if Vandenberg sees off Palio, and then from then on they've got chances. It's going to open up because there will be surprises, but I agree with Damien, there'll be fewer in the first round because I just think the proven players on tour will know how to deal with it and deal with it well. And
how much sort of weight would you put on that? So you have got in that first round, you've got the likes of inexperienced Ali Pali players, say for example Daniel Larson taking on sort of Robert Thornton, who's been there, seen it, done it. for years. But how much weight do you put on whether his form is regressing, but he's got the experience? How do you strike that balance?
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Especially against someone like Thornton, who we know is a class player, but his game is gone. So that's a really interesting one. I mean, you genuinely don't, you really don't know how these players are going to deal with the situation when they get there. And it's a new situation for many of them. Some will swim, some will sink. And you can't really tell until you see some darts being thrown. That's the difficulty. But we know from seeing results in the past that good players do win easily up against players who you know less about. And as Damien says, I think that'll be borne out again this year.
There's a couple of players I'd like to mention, Mr. Stiff Candle, if I may, that have got a nice draw as far. Yeah, I'm backing 3 players in the outright. Michael Smith's my main bet, but I think Simon Whitlock could go well early on. I mean, he's got a very decent route to the quarterfinals. A worst case scenario for Whitlock is Ryan Joyce, Alan Norris, and then James Wade, and then he's into the quarterfinals. I think Wade versus Whitlock would be close. So I think Whitlock could get to the quarterfinals, and you'd be on a nice price there. He's 80-1 in the outright. And Joe Cullen's the other one I'd like to mention. Joe Cullen, worst case scenario for Joe Cullen is Brendan Dolan, Mervyn King, and Peter Wright, and then he'd be into the quarterfinals. If he did get to the quarterfinals, Gerwyn Price would be the highest seed who would be waiting for him. And Joe Cullen thrashed Gerwyn Price in the match play. Price has become the sort of hate figure. I think the crowd would be really against Price. So if Cullen can beat Peter Wright, which obviously is not easy but entirely feasible, I'd like his chances of getting to the semi-finals.
And just touching on that, obviously we've mentioned the different strengths between the quarters. Is there any? Have you got any betting on the fourth quarter, Damien?
Yeah, we have it here. Wright is 5-4. Peter or Gerwyn Price is 4-1. Joe Cullen 7s, Ian White 9s, Kyle Anderson 12s, and Steve West 12s, and best 50 bars.
And it sounds
I like Cullen there. I like Cullen a lot there. He was the bee's knees as a youngster. He dominating on the youth tour, and then he's only 29 now. He's starting to look like he's putting a bit more effort in on the practice board. He's getting results. I mean, in the match play, he was brilliant. He lost 19-17 in the match play quarterfinals to Gary Anderson. And if you remember rightly, Hen, I know you watched most of the darts, but do you remember a little fly went across Cullen's eye line on that? That key double. You take that fly out of the equation, he may well have beaten Gary Anderson. He may well have won the match play, and then what price would he be now? So I think 100-1 Cullen is a lively each way bet. The European Championship since the match play, he played in the European Championship at the end of October, and he beat Michael Smith in that, beat Rob Cross in that, and then he lost 11-10 to Whitlock in the semi-finals. So I think Cullen is improving.
And has anyone else got anything to add in terms of to reach the final, quarter betting, anything anyone else wants to put up while we're here?
Well, I know you want to put up Steve West, don't you?
Well, I do think Steve West sort of 300.
Steve West.
I think 300. Looking at the draw, I mean, Richard North probably second round, and North really struggles to produce it on the big stage, although he's a good tour player. And then potentially Ian White. I don't think West would have anything to fear from then. And like Steve says, worst case scenario is Gerwyn Price. And I think 300-1 each way away from Van Gerwen and Anderson in a different half. It does look a huge price to me, really. I mean, of course, I'm not saying he's going to win his 301 poke, but I say you could definitely do worse than have if you could each way on him.
One thing I would like to mention before you go is Matthew Edgar plays Darius Labanauskas in his first round game. He's the outsider, and I think he'll win. There's not much in it, the prices. The winner plays Barney, and Edgar, when the draw came out, he did this lovely tweet. Could be an amazing second round game for the fans, he said. Edgar v Barney, possible clash of 2 players with 5 world titles between them.
Anything else from you, Damien? Anything else we should be looking out for?
I like Labanauskas. I think he could beat Barney as well. Actually, if Barney's form, we don't know where Barney's form is. Labanauskas, he averaged 99 last year in the BDO against Scotty Mitchell. He's a pretty good player. So yeah, I think Edgar is a decent player, but I think either of them, if they come through, is probably worth backing against Barney, as we don't know where Barney's form is. Like he's had decent form in the World Championship the last few years, but he's been very poor the last couple of tournaments. So on the quarter betting, I think we've mentioned him a good few times already, but Johnny Clayton at 14s for quarter 3 looks like a bet, I think, as well. He's a hard first round game against Dimitri, but if he gets over that, I think the draw will open up a bit for him, and I think he's a very good, consistent player. So 14-1 for the third quarter.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back to have a look at the special marquees, 180s, highest checkout, etc, etc.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and $1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Racing Post William Hill World Darts Championship Postcast. Now we're going to take a quick look at special bets. Let's start with Steve, Marshall of Darts Davis. Obviously, there's a slight change of format with a tweak into the prelim to the first round now. So there's more longer length games. Is there anything that sort of catches your eye in terms of 180s, checkouts, 9-dart finishes, anything like that?
I don't know if we've seen any 180 prices yet, Damien, have we? Because obviously it's harder to assess, isn't it, this year, I imagine?
It has been hard. I've been looking into it. It's going up on site shortly. I think around 870 is going to be the line. So it's, as you said, with the different format, it's pretty hard to assess, but that's what I'm looking at anyway. And
then you're all dependent on the same players getting through, because it was going up year on year, wasn't it? It was going up.
Yeah, and it came down a bit last year, I think.
Because Taylor went so well and Chisnell went out early and things like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think some of the big players aren't on great 180 hitting form at the moment either, would be one thing I would say. So maybe that's an angle for the unders. Like MVG hasn't been in as many 180s as he has in the past. Maybe Anderson too. So it's hard to say with the new format. We won't really know, I suppose, until next year. But yeah, I'd probably go unders if I had to have a bet.
And Penetrator, have you got anything up your sleeve?
That's an interesting question. No, I mean, was it 870? I mean, I don't like getting involved in these markets. I prefer, the sort of tried and tested markets of the outrights. I mean, 170 checkouts, or that 170 checkout was like 1 to 33 chance. I mean, that would just definitely happen, wouldn't it? I mean, what a 1 to 33 chance that is. There's a 170 checkout in the tournament. I mean, you might as well have your grandma on that. Yeah, I don't know. A 9-dart finish, it's always priced up for the yes men, isn't it? So I expect no will be the value, but yes will be odds on. No one likes to back no. I don't know. Let's just concentrate on the on who's going to win the darn thing, shall we?
Yeah. Before you do, 5 to 2 a first-time winner. I like that one.
5 to 2 a first-time winner. Yeah, that's interesting.
Anyone coming out the bottom half, apart from Rob Cross. I'll give you Wright, Smith, Suljevic, Price. Don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
Price.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go. I'll put that on my sleeve, Henry. You got something to say, Dangerous? Damien's on the line.
Go on, Damien.
Yeah, just one special I do like. 5 to 4, no English player to reach the semi-finals. I think you've probably got three good chances: James Wade, Michael Smith, and Rob Cross. I think they're all fairly beatable in their quarters, and you're getting odds against. I think it's a decent enough price.
All right, lovely.
I got 2 Englishmen making the semi-finals.
Yeah.
This is your patriotism coming through, Dangerous David. You hate the English.
Someone's definitely going to have a winner, isn't he? That's for sure. Right, before we get on to our best bet of the tournament, let's just go down the panel and we'll have our semi-finalists. 4 players. Who's going to be in the semi-final? Steve Davis.
The semi-finals will be Michael van Gerwen versus Daryl Gurney, who will get under Anderson's skin in the quarters and see him off. And I'm going to go all Welsh. I'm going to go Clayton Price.
And Damien, how do you see it, mate?
I agree. Van Gerwen Gurney I'd go for as well. And on the other side, Mensur Suljevic versus Gerwin Price.
Penetrator?
The top semi-final will be Simon Whitlock versus Gary Anderson. And then the bottom one will be Michael Smith versus Joe Cullen.
All right, and I bet it's time for best tournament bets.
This will not be beaten.
We'll start with Steve Palmer, your best bet of the tournament.
You can do
it in 180 theme if you want.
I got 200 to 1 on a Whitlock versus Michael Smith final. I mean, obviously quite an ambitious bet, but if you want a less ambitious bet, Michael Smith to make the final. I think that's around the 5 to 1 mark. I think that'd be my best bet in the tournament. I think Smith's going to make the final.
Damien?
I like Mensur each way at 25 or 25s. I think is out there, and I just at a bigger price. Gerwin Price to beat Gary Anderson in the final is 125 to 1. I repeated the Grand Slam final, so I think at a big price you might get a run for that.
And Steve Davies.
Yeah, I like Price. I like Clayton to win his quarter, but my nap would be a first-time winner.
And I will go with Steve West each way. So I'd say that's pretty much game shot, lads. So cheers, thanks for joining me. Can't wait to get stuck into the darts over Christmas. There's not much else on, is there? You can sit there eating turkey sandwiches and watching Mervyn King
Best sporting fortnight of the year.
Explode on the stage. While we'll get here, make sure you check out Steve Palmer's latest golf postcast of the season from earlier today when we look back some top moments of the year. And Bruce will be back for the football and racing postcast later in the week. Until then, I've been Double H, and thank you for joining me.
180.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.